Well. Wasn't that something? Hello, thanks for waiting. How does everybody get finished before me? I'll watch it on the iPlayer. Yeah, so I'm sure I'll be joined by some others. I hope you can hear me. I didn't check the mute. There we go. Hope you can hear me. Tell me if you can't. Hopefully, I'm going to be joined by a few more. I think Peter's going to be on. I think he fell asleep in the bath, so he's not seeing it. I think hopefully Jake and a few others will be joining. Have a chat about that. Oh, Jesus Christ. Wow. I'm going to say, for starters, hey, hi Lee, how you doing? I'm going to say for starters, just, and this will be referenced in due course as well, but I've got to say that if anybody sees this, legally, I've got to say, I'm sure everything that we'll talk about is stuff that's been mentioned on the program. There will be anecdotal things, opinions to a certain degree. I'm sure, just kind of like the kind of general gist of your opinion about Brewdog. I'm sure there will be personal things, but it's our opinion and all based on kind of the stuff what you've just seen on the BBC. If people manage to see it, fucking hell, woo! So yeah, I've sent a link out to the guys, and hopefully they'll be joining me shortly. But while we start, I'm gonna get a drink. It's not Brewdog. I've got a can of Sonoma on track when I went last week. But please, if you've got any comments, questions, bring it on. This kind of subject is going to be pretty incendiary, and I mean, you people in the comments have got the absolute right to pass your kind of opinions on, and we'll discuss them as well. But yeah, I think it's a good Jake. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, just to find out how to sell my EFP shares. Just Googling that before I jumped on.
Yeah, wow. Hey, what's your initial reaction?
Well, it's in a lot of ways very unsurprised, but in other ways quite surprised. So a bit of a mix.
But, yeah, so just Lee, it's on. You'll be able to get on the iPlayer, and I presume very, very soon. If you can't get it, you can switch on the iPlayer. You can switch your area, so it's like telling your computer in your app that it's in Scotland, and that's how I think a lot of people have watched it. There has been word getting around. Mm-hmm. I have had the legal disclaimer. This is all kind of opinion, or based on things what we've seen. It's our kind of like reactions to what we've seen. Because a long time ago, I wrote a blog. And about I criticized. I said Brewdog were creating exclusivity within beer, and they fucking came after me en masse. Did kind of employees. So you got to. I've got to be kind of like you got to be careful because this. You might think you're just on YouTube and you get away with shit, but you never know what'll happen. Mm-hmm. So it's fucking it's fucking mental. I'm having a beer. Yeah. Have you got a drink?
I've just finished a Colonel Powwow. And I'm going to go on, about to crack open a Verdant.
Lovely. I should have put on one of my Brewdog t-shirts, shouldn't I?
I was thinking about Drew for a Brewdog last, but yeah. I just got my Brewdog tattoo on my knob. I just thought it was appropriate.
Do you have to show it every time you go in the bar?
I do, yeah.
Well, to be honest, I think you probably get away with it. I've got a couple more people saying, "How do you get to see it? I don't live in Scotland."
I don't live.
So if you're in the UK, you can change your region on the settings on the iPlayer app. So it should be. I think it should be just be on the iPlayer anyway now. If you go under the, if not, it'll be on very soon. It kept saying that last night. So yeah, please do check it out because there's gonna be some shit that you want.
And there's probably going to be some spoilers.
Oh yeah, big time
probably going to be
spoilers.
talking about
Beware spoilers. And I'm not. I mean, just well, the last 20 minutes is one thing, but and I'm sure we'll get onto that. But I'm going to address the elephant in the room. James Watt owns £500,000 worth of shares in Heineken.
Wait, that was a little like a little chef's kiss. That was.
I bet they loved it when they found that. Like,
I even like went and like told my wife, who was just like completely uninterested.
Yeah,
I was like, "You never guess what?
It's the guy Brewdog guy."
But I think the whole thing is just the overarching thing is just all built on lies and hypocrisy and trying to show an image that just was never there really. It might have been in the early days when they were small, when they were upstarts, but then along the way they really took it in a different direction.
Oh, good, Craig here as well. Oh, and we've even got an equity for Punk himself joining us.
Evening.
What did you think of that then?
Space art, Rob.
Fucking man.
When they're like sitting like that.
Yeah.
So sorry, go on.
I did. There wasn't anything new that I hadn't heard previous. Is probably the first thing.
Yeah.
I've heard all of the rumours before. The only thing
even the Heineken thing.
That was the only one.
Yeah.
The Heineken was the only one. Was the first thing that was like brand new to me, which I was quite taken aback by. But I thought it was like the first 5-10 minutes. It was very, very sensationalized, very dramatic, and then the second half it just turned into a character assassination of James Watt when he went to America. So it was a bit. It was like a tale of two halves watching that one. But
yeah, that's pretty well put actually. I mean, yeah, the first few I was like, as ridiculous as they are, I'm not surprised. I mean, but the Elvis thing, you were like, yeah, well, of course, it's just bollocks in it, really. It's just bollocks. You kind of put it.
And I mean, how unpunk can you be about having an offshore account and all of those investments in the fucking Cayman Islands? Like that's really punk. Just all that tax-free money just sitting there. So that's not capitalist at all, is it?
Oh dear. But that's it. I mean, but then he's from I don't know everything. I'm sure there's ways to find out. But I mean, I always was under the impression his dad owned a fleet of North Sea trawlers. So, I mean, he's from money. I mean, so there's no kind of surprise about kind of like capitalism or anything like that there. But
no.
Craig, when everybody pops in, I'm asking them their reactions to what they think is.
I can give you mine straight away, Rob. I was asleep in the bath.
I won't give you mine.
You're in for a treat. Well, actually, you're going to get loads of spoilers, so it's going to be a bit.
I'm not too fussed. I'll enjoy it either way.
We have 4-pack of Elvis juice.
Yeah,
with its illegal ingredients.
Yeah.
That's funny because those stories broke this week in the press, didn't they? Those ones about
really?
them. So I'd already read those, and that's just a whole different legal kettle of fish. That is just that's a crazy one. That one. But sorry, Craig, you give us your.
It's all right.
That's going to get screenshotted, and then that's.
Right, just hold that up again.
Make sure your face is in it.
There we go. The legal requirements.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, absolutely. Yeah, well.
I've got it.
Yeah, so what was your reaction after that finish then, Craig?
Well, nothing surprised me up until he had 500k shares in Heineken, which I thought, wow, that's pretty punk. I don't know, and then there's bits and bats that we didn't kind of know about, especially the stories in America, and I was like, oh, okay, shit, that's another level there. And then obviously the importing of the beer, that's a whole nother level there. I'd imagine that certain authorities will be looking into this and going deeper in the coming months, I would imagine. But then there's also, like you say, it was all about opinion and proving some of them things. I think that's where it gets a little bit, grey, I guess. But yeah, there's about three things there that surprised me, but the rest a lot of people within the kind of community like us, I guess, we've kind of known about for a long time. So.
And I do think that needs mentioned because it's easy to get caught up in that everybody knows all these things. But bigger Twitter and Facebook groups are very, very small on the grand scheme of things.
Exactly.
And I do think that whatever comes out of that programme, it was also on BBC Scotland. It wasn't on BBC One. It didn't replace the One show. So I still think the majority of people who go into like the supermarkets will not know any difference, will not see any difference. And there'll be a lot of firefighting for a few weeks, I would imagine. But I actually don't think it will be long-term significant damage, but that's just maybe me.
I was more like the whole Cloudwater statement, like 3 hours before the bloody programme, bollocks. And it's like
they're just like
you've known for
now,
ages as well. Don't start getting all that bollocks. You've known what you were getting into beginning of last year, as we all did. That's a load of nonsense, if you ask me. But very in the character of Brewdog, though, over the last nearly 2 years, to be honest. So.
Yeah, I mean, I have made notes.
Did you timestamp it as well?
I didn't know. So I mean, you're all talking about, I knew all about it. So they didn't change the name to Elvis. What the fuck? Yeah. Oh, now I don't believe in anything.
Yeah. You mean they made stuff up for a marketing campaign?
Can't believe
so as it's quite some foggy areas, I've gone for Idaho fog. There you go.
The trees thing was a little bit kind of, I mean, they've put a lot on that. There's been a lot of emphasis on this
I mean, the thing for the trees with me is they've always, why I've struggled with it is that they say, for this amount we'll plant this, we'll plant that, and I didn't think that many, or if any, had been planted, and I think at some point there's just going to be a lot of trees, because I would have expected to see James, for instance, with a spade in the ground, digging the hole to actually put the tree into it. So I think it will happen. I think the money in the land's there, but they're not obviously planted yet. I kind of got that. I kind of knew they weren't there, but
they're not even paying for it. They just applied for public money to do it. Yeah. Even though they've been kind of like
they've paid the £10 million to buy the land. I think they've bought the land, but once you own the land, you'll be entitled to certain government grants to plant certain things. So, playing devil's advocate, why would they not claim for it?
Good point. Yeah. Because
if you're entitled to it.
Well, I guess that's just like everything. That just sums up everything. Why wouldn't you do this if you could get away with it?
Yeah,
because
that's what they've done. They're trying to get away with stuff as best as they can.
He even mentioned it when he was saying about the. Actually, there were a couple. So that was I don't know if this was a quote from his book or actually the guy in the program saying, "Why spend your own money where you can spunk someone else's?"
That is in the book. I have got that book. We could do a reading from it later. of the gym.
Jay Canori.
Very good.
But yeah, just the whole kind of like, well, I mean, if you're going to say you're going to do something, well, just do it then. If not, it's just fucking empty words, aren't they? I think that's what it seems like. A lot of it is just empty words. I think that's always been the case.
With the equity for punks thing, I watched a documentary a few weeks ago, actually, and it had a lot of similarities of corruption.
That's the opinion of can be reviews.
No, I'm not saying it, but it had a lot of similarities. Like the documentary on Sky documentary, Man Who Brought Down or Bought Cricket.
Oh yeah, I've seen that knocking around.
Which is a great documentary if you've not watched it.
Knocking around.
And it for some reason it reminded me a little bit of the goings-ons.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Well, it's quite interesting about the fact that they owe the whatever that company was called, that the angel investors or whatever. The fact that they need to keep growing.
TSG.
Yeah. They got to keep. So you can understand why they're pushing growth all the time, and why they want to maintain that they're growing and they're worth this much, because they're going to have to pay them eventually, aren't they? So yeah, you can see where that's coming from, because they and that's why they wanted more money from EFP and everything like that, because they need to do it, because they're going to have to pay someone eventually. And what was it? They're getting 18% interest on all the shares or whatever. I'm not always that good with like financial stuff, but like that, and that financial guy was like, "That's a lot."
Yeah.
That's a hell of a deal. So that's you can sort of see where that whole, because you could be shitting yourselves, couldn't you? That you got to pay someone back.
Yeah, but the whole kind of like, I mean, when you buy kind of like 50 quid's worth, you don't get a hell of a lot. I mean, even from the start. I mean, I remember I was contemplating it first time round many years ago. It was like about 100 quid or something like that for one share, and I'll be like, But I think over the years it's like you've got less and less and less and less and less for what you.
I own one share, and my wife owns one share, so we bought the two at the same time. And at that point, you could split them between the two. And for £25, I've made a lot out of. Well, I've always seen it as a beer club rather than an investment.
Yeah, exactly. You're buying into that company, aren't you? You're not actually making that. That's the thing. You're not actually looking to make an investment, are you?
No.
Because if you were, you do it in thousands and stuff like that. So it's the same here. When like I've got 2 shares.
I've completely forgot about that.
Yeah,
two.
Yeah,
I thought Greg was like the kind of exclusive EPP.
Mine were given to me as a birthday present. And so,
birthday present.
It's like, give me them. I'll get all the discount in the bars. But it's because I was at that time, Brewdog's web shop was really good. There was like loads of different stuff on there. I used that. So, like you said, I made my money back on discounts alone, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So and that's what I viewed it as. I was just paying. I was just buying into that company. I never thought, I'm gonna be quids in here.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Well, I've said the story about my tattoo. So I've got the tattoo on the wrist. I paid £50 for the tattoo, and I got the Brewdog bar opened in Carlisle on the Thursday. I got the tattoo the day before the bar opened, and that 50 quid was saved by the 20% discount because I went in Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I paid it off in a weekend. So
come on then, Greg, give us your rap then.
Come on.
I can't rap, but I've only got one tattoo.
That was brilliant.
You need 2 tattoos to rap. Yeah.
Why don't you just get by like a set of kind of like markers or something and draw it on if it was just day before. Wrap it in a bit of cling film. Oh, I only done yesterday.
Yeah, get like a red marker to do around the edges. Oh, look how pure it is.
Yeah. So,
Now you say that.
Greg, has your opinion of Brewdog changed over 3 years, or including the last hour as well?
It's difficult because I always view for like most people they were my entry level into craft beer. So you have that nostalgia at the start, and I took my wife into the Brewdog bar in Edinburgh, and she loved it. And getting my wife into a bar that was serving good beer was a real big thing. So that's why it became this thing about going around and getting all the stamps and getting all the bars, because we just turned it into like a tour thing. So I think I'm on about 55 bars now, like round Europe. But I see my local bar different to like the national thing because they're my friends, and they would tell me if they were having a bad time, because I get on so well with them. And I don't think that those things happen at my local level. With the current GM that we've got now, I mean, the bar's been open 3 years and there was teething problems. I don't think there was any like sexual harassment or anything like that. I think there was just general teething problems of being a new bar. But I've never thought that they were like threatened or anything like that, and I'd actually think they would actually tell me if those things were happening. So I'd like to hope it's not a local thing, but you know, you've just got to listen to these people, and then you've got to act on it, and you just hope that things will change going forward.
One thing I was thinking when they were interviewing them people about going up to the roof and all that, and I was watching it on video and blah blah. So where's the video?
Well, it might not be recorded. I mean, and who it's actually recorded. Where's it recorded to?
I mean, a lot of the time, that CCTV, they don't keep they only keep it for a while after, don't they?
Yeah, usually like 6 months.
Yeah, but something like that. I mean, someone would surely think.
I don't know. I don't know. I think with those sort of things, like it's just an overwhelming amount. I mean, the whole stuff on Instagram before any of this documentary stuff is just an
Oh yeah.
It can't be a conspiracy where like everyone is sort of.
Well, this is it. I mean, there's a lot of this happened, that happened, this happened, but there's no kind of proof or anything.
Yeah.
So
yes.
So in that regard, it's stuff we've been hearing about for ages.
I don't want to make kind of like comparisons to what Craig's saying about kind of it been about kind of like he say she say kind of like situation, but there is another kind of like shall we say high profile court case going on in America, which is all very much about kind of like it's all anecdotal evidence apart from one photograph. So it's one of those things. I think it's always the case in these type of things.
It's going to play out. It's going to play out in the courts, though. Now, isn't it?
It will do eventually.
Yeah. Well, that's what he tweeted, like just before the program started.
Yeah.
Which is never really the sign of an truly innocent person.
But he's going to want to protect himself and his company, though, isn't he? But at the same time, if people have had a difficult time, it just brings up old things. So it's it's not good.
Yeah, and a lot of the allegations that especially we saw on Instagram that people exposed and everything weren't just about James Watt. It was which is one thing they sort of
primarily was.
Yeah. But it was also about the bad way the bars were run and all this sort of stuff, which is a culture thing, isn't it? And it wasn't even just sexual harassment stuff. It was health and safety stuff. It was actual just work. Like there was I saw one recently about I think they're building the dog tap in Ellen, and that like they literally had like an exposed floor. And the only thing that was stopping people from going up these stairs to just this exposed like mezzanine that had just like a netting instead of a floor were like two like bar stools. And that was it. And they were just told to carry on. They're just told to carry. Like, you just got to carry on working, and like the because I think the construction got halted because they didn't have the correct planning permission, because they just bulldozed it on, and they changed what that building was being used for. So it's just a whole right thing of them. I think it's just them just hurtling forward and not giving a second's thought to anyone.
Yeah,
and I think that's what a lot of it boils down to. It's just that constant growth.
It's easier to deal with the kind of the reaction opposed to doing the work up front. That was one of the quotes on it about the kind of the repercussions not half as bad as the amount of work that I'll have to go into doing in the first place.
Yeah.
Just got some comments while we at this point. So Sam saying, "G'day lads, we're drinking Brewdog in detail." I'm afraid not. We've got one of my favourite comments so far. The bots are out. A Brewdog sending bots after me. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's what my claim is. Brewdog are attacking this YouTube channel.
Drunken bots
with their bot army, their Russian bot army.
Trying to rig the election.
Drunken bots.
There you go. Bit more Cameroon.
it was 1-0 at half.
Sam replied, saying hello to them. We've got another one. Lang Pollard. Lang Pollard is pretty much about as plausible as one of the talking heads on the thing. It was Hayden Beer. Is that actually his name, or did he change his name? I don't know. Lang Pollard, or Hayden Beer. If that popped up as a comment, I'd be like, that's a spam bot. What is Hayden Beer actually a spam bot? Who knows? When we Beavertown went to partnership with Anakin and James, that was quoted on the show. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's fucking hypocrisy. That was a thing that I wrote about years ago, which got me in a load of shit with them. Was about kind of like the hypocrisy of it all, and about and about them creating exclusivity where they're kind of proclaiming, oh, everybody's all of it. It's a really kind of like inclusive kind of thing, but they were doing the opposite. That was about 2013. So, BBC, why were you talking to me, Melissa Cole? She didn't turn up to the collab because James didn't like her idea. You should have talked to the fucking organ grinder. So funny. Oh, there you go. The rap. Got Raggy. How you doing, Raggy? Hope you're all well. Get it, watch Raggy. We've got a Scotchman. Another bird who tried to bully at Aberdeenshire Council as well. There you go. Blah blah. Some chitty chatting chats going on. Come on, James. What? Always a buzzword, man. Yeah, absolutely. You mean I don't know about you, Greg, but whenever I've kind of spent time with James,
I've never met him.
Really?
No, I've never met him.
There's like a weird kind of like facade. There's like and he's massively insincere, and he's kind of like he's reading kind of questions, and he does go into the bullshit even in quite.
I've been to the AGM. I've been to the AGM, but I've never met the man in person.
He does. Yeah, but we'll get onto that. I'll get onto my personal anecdotes later.
I saw him at Beavertown once, and then it was when I was a fanboy. I was like, oh my god, there's James Watt. I can't talk to him. I can't go up and talk to him.
And
I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah, gut instinct.
Yeah, exactly.
Was he up on the roof?
I mean, I had blonder hair at that point.
Yeah.
I was a young
with any
blonde
drunk
at that
women
point.
or at the time, or just
Potentially.
That's one thing I will talk about in a bit, actually. What's it say? Jack Master's business was moving too fast. Well, yeah, but I guess you can be a kind of like, well, if you want to talk about that thing, because this has always been Brewdog's kind of rebuttal to it all, is that we're kind of this kind of like fast moving company. We should and that's their excuse for treating people badly. I don't know if that's super true. But, I don't know. They're not Russian bots. Yeah, chiming in. yeah. So next bit, we're from my note. So yes, so they're expecting. They think they're worth 1.8 billion. Well, you are if Was James was James at the meeting with Michael Jackson or not? The photograph shows it was just mine. Was he there, or is it just another part of their? Well, it's all the folklore of it being.
He was on the roof.
Being absolute divine. Well, that's it. Who was taking that picture of Prince Andrew? Prince Andrew was in the photograph. Who was taking the picture? Well,
we can't blame James Watt for that, can we?
I'm not.
I did kind of feel for Martin in it a little bit.
I was going to say that. I wonder what his.
I bet he was well chuffed.
Well, but it's he seems. I know they've done the stunts at the start, and he's in them, and you can see him dressed up and whatnot. But even on social media, he does take a big back seat.
Oh yeah.
And when the allegations came out last year or whatever it was, he kind of stood back for a day or two, and then he wrote something on Instagram, and it felt really heartfelt. He hadn't rushed it, and he was saying how hurt he was, and he didn't know that these things had been going on, and it did sound really believable. And even tonight, though, there was no real mention of him. There was no digging into his background or anything like that. And
I don't think you'd find anything, would you? I think it's squeaky clean.
But I think you would. He must. You wonder what's going on in his head though when he sees all this about his so-called best mate. It must be hard for him. But
yeah,
I'd like him to step up now and take the reins a little bit more, and I think it might help just steady the good ship for.
Because when you think about it, he's the innovator. He was the brewer, wasn't he? It was his recipes and stuff, and James was the businessman. Yeah,
how long?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, he had the experience in the brewing industry and everything like that, didn't he? So it's, and then probably when it became a bigger business thing, it's probably when he stepped back. But like you say, it'd be good to hear from him. And
would you want to get involved?
No.
If I were him, I'd be like, "Whoa, sorry, mate, but I don't want to get tarnished with that shitty brush." Because it's not a. Yeah, it's it was. Yeah, it did. Yeah, I mean, I think Greg put it quite nicely. It did become a bit of a character assassination, which is it completely justified?
Yeah, but I mean, it was a documentary about Brewdog and their wrongdoing. So who else are they going to talk about?
Yeah, and he's the public. I say mine stepped back quite a long time ago, and James will continue being the kind of the kind of public face of it all, very much so. So yeah, I guess it is always going to be kind of him, but and yeah, well, I'll start off. And just to kind of preface this is, as Jake pointed out earlier, we're all kind of white men, so we haven't really got a dog in the fight in this sense. So what I can kind of base my kind of opinions on and stuff, and my kind of character judgment and all that kind of business, spending kind of time kind of with and around James. I was really quite surprised about that, and I'll say for starters, because quite a lot of people I was probably hanging around with maybe thought he was gay. So I was quite surprised that he's this kind of massive sexual predator. He does have a certain kind of effeminate quality.
Yeah.
He when I pull my camera out up at my camera up in his office no less. He went off and got a hat. So he didn't want to be on camera with a bald head. So he's massively insecure, and just and always wears the same clothes. It's very bizarre, and but yeah, I always find it funny. It really, and in this sense, I'm meaning more like bar launches and stuff like that. Very measured. He would always he wouldn't drink much at all. He'd always stand there with he'd always have it really close to his chest. and he'd be really kind of like measured, and he would never drink much. I mean, one night I was out where Martin and James were in the same bar. Martin was very much the one having a better time than James. James definitely went home earlier. So in that sense, I mean, I've always kind of seen him as being like really kind of like business-like and measured and like quite until he gets into it, until he starts this fucking show. Until he steps on the bar, which that happened twice, and my mate Dean was in the background, which was I was like, hey, it's Dean.
So he's only went home early, or did he?
He was never there that late, but he never seemed a very kind of like socially comfortable person. Even at at launches for like their bars. I mean, he'd go around people. He'd go around and talk to people, especially people who he might recognise. He'd maybe spend a bit more time with. But it was always, he'd always ask me like how Hopsing's going and stuff. I'm like last few times they're like, yeah, you know what it is. Sort of all shit in it, really. And it was just kind of like it would be really kind of like fake in a lot of ways. I mean, there were times where he kind of felt he did let his guard down a bit and was a bit more kind of like himself. And so, but the whole kind of like, I mean, that the fact that all those anecdotes were from America as well. I mean, and it was saying, did he kind of cut loose when he was in America? Which is because, as James Ryan points out, that I mean, he's married. I've been in outside his house. He didn't invite us in. He left us in the car.
He said, "Did you want to come up to the roof?" Or
seen his dog. It was single story. So
easier to get
on the roof. But he was in the middle of nowhere. So I mean, no one can see you, can you? When you're in the middle of whatever you want if you're in wilderness. But yeah, I always find him kind of like an awkward person, an uncomfortable person to be around. Kind of a lot of time. Never a kind of like a kind of sleazy Lothario. So it kind of does seem a bit surprising that it's happening in America. Maybe I don't know. And I'm talking about quite a while ago. I'm going back like 14, 15. So I mean, and obviously things have changed. People change over time as well. So I'm not saying that's out of question. And as companies grow, egos grow, kind of behaviour changes and stuff like that. So that was a surprise. I mean, the more and more spiraled out on that, it's like fucking hell, this is fucking mental. But as I said, I was really surprised. I mean, just as a man, he doesn't seem that kind of person. You know what I mean? As I said, he has got this kind of awkward, effeminate like quality to him. So I'm surprised at the kind of is this? But then again, when you kind of like abuse of power and all this kind of business, I mean, it's a horrible thing, and that's clearly what has been alleged. So, I mean, and there's a lot of people kind of backing that claim up, ain't there?
Yeah,
I know. Were people kind of? Were people? I mean, Greg, obviously, you can say as much as you want. How? Because you said that you'd heard the rumors and stuff, but I never heard any rumors like that.
Well,
I don't know about anybody else.
When I say I've heard the rumours, I'm just going off like the Punks with Purpose things that have came out and things like that. I've never heard of anybody that they've actually done. I'm only hearing like through another party where these things, these allegations kind of thing. I've not one person's ever once said to me that he's done this or he's done that. I've never heard anything of that ilk. But these rumours, whether it's on the forum or whether it's over Twitter, they have been around for a while, haven't they? But yeah,
I'd never really heard anything before. But any of the rest of you heard anything like that?
I've never heard anything directly about James, but it did seem that there was a culture within Brewdog.
I read a lot of the stuff that was on Instagram, I read a lot of those posts that British Beer Girl and was it Rat Magnet? Was that the lady in the US? And there was loads on there about James Watt, absolute tons. What that stuff wasn't a shock to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
And other Brewdog managers and all that stuff really. A lot of the London places seem to be appearing quite a lot. High turnover of staff and
all the allegations stemmed in either Aberdeen, London, or America when you read them online. But
yeah.
He would never come to Carlisle.
Yeah. So I wasn't surprised by when they said it in the documentary. I wasn't surprised that it was in there because I sort of thought that was really what the whole of it was going to be about. And then when all the financial stuff was in it, and all of those sort of like wrongdoings, that's when it was a bit. It's sort of like it's just an all round villain. It's got the offshore. Yeah, the offshore Cayman bank account.
It sounds really.
That was a new one as well. The Cayman Islands, I know that.
Yeah, the Cayman Islands. £3 million or whatever.
Yeah,
that sounds familiar.
See, that side of things doesn't really bother me. I mean, obviously, it goes against what Brewdog portray themselves to be, like fiercely independent and this sort of stuff. But I'm like, that's like. It's his own personal money, really. I mean, it does make him a massive hypocrite.
Yeah, but it's his own personal. Oh, sorry, carry on.
I'm just not sort of shocked by that because it's inevitable money's going somewhere.
But they got. But I think. Oh, sorry, Peter. I keep cutting you off. You carry on.
It's okay. It's okay, Jake Watt. I mean, but no, I don't know. That side of things, I think, is more sensationalist, if anything. And I don't find that side of things really that problematic in the grand scheme of things. I think James has got a lot to answer for by the sounds of it.
I didn't.
HRMC might find it.
Yeah.
Well, of course. Yeah. You name anyone who is making that much money who isn't doing
it's just sickening though when you pay your taxes. It's from that level. It's just sickening.
I buy Starbucks, so
exactly. I shop on Amazon all the time. This came from Amazon.
Exactly. So I know I play my part in that sort of stuff.
But the thing I was going to. Oh shit! I keep cutting you off. There must be a lag, Peter.
Absolutely fine, Jake. I think I was just going to drag on a point that I've made, so you carry on.
The thing about that whole thing about taking the money and taking it offshore and everything is the payout they got from when they got that equity firm in. So they're doing EFP, which is quite a commendable thing, like getting your fans of your brand to fund you. And if they had kept on that trajectory, that's like, in a way, that's good because that was what they're basing their business model on and getting people involved and all that. But then you do that equity thing and you take a massive payout yourself. And Martin Dickie did take that payout too. And then you just fudge it into a load of offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. You get your 500 grand's worth of Heineken.
But the majority of people who invested in that, because they see it as a beer club, they won't even be aware of.
Exactly.
That,
it's an awareness thing. There was that guy who had like 3 grand's worth. There was that guy that they interviewed who had like 3 grand's worth of stock, and then he was even saying, "Well, it's an absolute kick in the teeth, isn't it?"
Yeah, I've got a mate who bought about 5 grand first time round, and he would have. Now he's got the same, same kind of rights as somebody who's got one.
They did make one. There was one false thing that I did pick up though on the program. The program stated that there is ad hoc share opportunities to sell your shares. Because it is private equity, if you know how to do it, you can sell your shares at any time in private equity. But the program alluded to the fact that because Brewdog set up 1 share day a year, that it's very difficult for you to actually get your coin back.
Yeah, I wouldn't even know how to go about selling mine.
There's a lot of work, I would imagine, from what I've heard. But I wouldn't even, because you need to get your CompuShare share certificate numbers, and I don't think you get issued them when you take your share out. So you then have to go to CompuShare to get your numbers and to get your details, and then you have to agree on a price. What
would I get for my 2 shares? Do you think?
You'd be lucky to get your 25 quid back, I would have thought.
Yeah. After all these years,
you might be able to get a fish and chip dinner.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. But the thing is, I think I've actually used my card once because I always forget to bring it. If I've ever been to a Brewdog bar, I'd never bring my fucking card.
But if you go to one AGM, because I think it costs you 20 quid to get in, and then as soon as you arrive, you get 20 quid's worth back in tokens. So it doesn't actually cost you to go. And I think the year we went, it was like Idlewild or whoever was playing. So it's basically a gig. It's not. There's a little business talk at the start, and then they've got, like, when we went, I think they had like Jackie O's at a bar, and they get a lot of hype beers there as well. So it didn't feel like an AGM. It was basically just a glorified piss up.
That's why my mate used to go, just because it exclusive beers they're getting.
And it was fantastic. When we went at that time, the Brewdog America beers weren't over here, so we went and they had the truck out the back with all the American ones imported, of like the Brewdog USA stuff, and it pissed all over the stuff that we get. And it just
did it have illegal ingredients though? Did they have illegal ingredients?
but that's all I've ever seen it as. I've never seen it as a thing. Oh, I'm going to get my money back because I've got so little shares. It's just been a Jolly Boys club basically.
What was
the benefits of having those shares?
And I think the majority of people who are shareholders are in that bracket, because
I think you're right. Yeah.
On the last, not the last one, the one before, I got 20 referrals, so I got loads of perks, because basically the bar opened and I went around all my mates and saying, are you getting shares? So you getting a discount? Oh yeah, right, I'll do it. Right, I'll put your reference number forward. So I got like nearly top tier referrals, and everybody bought the lowest amount. Nobody was in it for financial gain.
But you benefited off it.
I've done all right of it. Yeah.
Best way to do it.
That's the
small pyramid
culture of Brewdog.
Exactly, it's culture that is permeating even
it's just like
Carlisle brand,
really, isn't it? So you can see it that way, and I think that's the best way to see it, as opposed to because there's better ways you could invest in a company.
If the company folded tomorrow, I'd be gutted, because we would then have no craft bar in Carlisle, and it would be even more barren than it is now. But I've done all right out of it. I've had a laugh out of it, but I've made mates out of it. But there is obviously some issues, and they have to address them, and hopefully they do.
Did like we said before that a lot of us, I'm not talking for other people, but they're a gateway brewery and all that sort of stuff. Did early doors, Greg, did you buy into the whole ethos side? Is that what got you in initially?
I wasn't aware of like the EFP side of things when I got into it. So like bizarrely, my first Brewdog beer was the Tesco, what is now Mr. President, the value one. So like, I went into the Tesco's, and my mates were saying, "Oh, you need to get this beer. They're selling like 8.5% beer," which to me was just like rocket mad. So we got, that was my first ever beer was the Tesco value or Tesco Finest, whatever it was.
Yeah,
Tesco Finest double IPA.
Back years ago.
Yeah, I reviewed it 4 years out of date.
They called it the American IPA.
But so that was my first one. It was only when we went in the bar the first time, and they've got the paperwork on the bars advertising the EFP thing, that I actually realised what an EFP thing was, and I was like, "Oh, we need to get on this, because we're going in like every other month. We were going over to Newcastle or Glasgow, so it was like need to get in and become one of these." So that was how it started. Really, we just seen it as a beer club, and to be honest, I still do to this day.
Yeah. So it wasn't like you didn't like buy into the whole brand ethos and all this sort of stuff, that rhetoric and Yeah.
No.
So he came at it from a completely different angle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just makes me remember when Stuart Pickard, Ginger Ale Trail, met James at Leeds International. He went up to him and says, "Oh, you that bloke off of Hopzine?" And he's like, "Oh, is that what I'm going to be remembered for?" I'm like, no. I'm thinking now, no, it'd be probably something a lot more serious.
Yeah, that's where all the problems started. Clearly.
Well, clearly.
Stuart.
Yeah, that interview.
A couple more comments. I said, "Russ, we have to take action against the stream, albeit chips involved protecting against what reputation, absolutely. Evening." That other bloke seems okay. Yeah, Martin's really low key. I mean, the night that was the only night I've been out in the same bar as. I mean, I suppose Martin like once, maybe twice, and he did go out with a couple of people, including somebody who worked for the local newspaper, to a lap dancing club. James went home. I'm not casting aspersions, just saying that's what happened. I think he's been done for speeding a few times in his Land Rover. Well, he was driving very fast when I was in the passenger seat. It wasn't a Land Rover, it was more of a warrior. You know warriors? Like a 4x4 kind of like fellas. Yep, it was terrifying. I just wanted him to look at the road. It was fucking crapping my pants. Probably going to a Colombian store that turns everyone shine awkward to a rock star. Maybe you're right, Sam.
Do you know what? That would not surprise me.
Casting any aspersions.
Mm-hmm. It's got the stare.
I've just realised that
scary.
I've just realised the beer name
accused him of
that
being
I'm
a
drinking.
drug abuser.
Very apt for tonight.
Destroying next.
Destroying.
Just realised that's a Atletico Mince pun as well. Destroying exit. That's what shit football managers do. That's Casper. That's on the thing.
Did anybody manage their own expectations? Whilst watching a documentary tonight.
We've got another Scotsman. We've got John Drinks.
Well, he lives in Scotland.
It's enough for me. It sounds a bit spicy. British Beer Girls very proactive in keeping people in the loop in abuse allegations. Any thoughts on sad AF thing? That's just. We were talking about it on the way, weren't we? Just tone deaf.
Yeah, it's just dumb.
Tone deaf and gross. I just found that really gross and quite exploitative.
I tried it on Saturday. The drink.
Did it make you depressed?
It's like a dishwater yellow, and it was cream soda and coconut, and it was just very watery. My first drink in a bar after not being allowed out for 10 days, and that was that. Grim.
But I genuinely did not like the sad AF stuff. That really rubbed me up the wrong way. That whole side of things.
It reminded me of when they did Pink IPA.
It's the same thing, completely the wrong end of the stick, tone deaf bullshit.
Inappropriate, really.
Yeah,
inappropriate. It's like inappropriate and gross and a bit crass as well.
When they did the Barnard Castle name, I thought it was funny at the time, but then when they offered to open the bars up to do the vaccinations, and they were going to name a beer like Little Prick or something, I think they were going to call it, and it was like it's like when is this marketing of like beer names? Where's it going to stop?
Everything's marketing.
You know,
that's Mr. Watt said.
You know for a fact that there's going to be a few beers released over the next few weeks relating to this whole situation.
But then they don't go into that
I
as
think
much anymore.
I think that would be the end, the end of them. I think.
Because the best
I've got this sneaky suspicion it's going to be just a really unnecessary. Yeah, let's try and stick it back to them. Because that's fundamentally what Brewdog are to me. They're just sort of like reactionary, trying to be a bit too controversial. I mean, obviously, I didn't get round to watching the documentary, which I will do. But
Should
like
do,
Greg was
yeah,
saying,
should do.
it was on BBC Scotland. It wasn't like it was on Panorama, which was also on this evening. So I don't know. Hopefully, enough people see it.
I think word will start getting around.
Because you can also just get that on iPlayer as well. It doesn't matter if you're in Scotland or not. Yeah.
I mean, but to be, I never heard of Disclosure as an actual documentary until this.
Same here.
I never heard of it. So
same as that, yeah.
No, same here.
How far and wide? Like I say, it will fill BeerTube. It will fill Beer Twitter. The Facebook groups will have a field day with the memes.
They already have.
Oh yeah, they have.
They already have.
But
we can share some in a bit if you want.
The general public.
Adam's been sharing them on.
It's the same. It's the same as like the Lion thing with Magic Rock. The general public will not see the difference. The beer will just continue to go out. The same beers will go out, and they won't notice it.
Well, I mean, the case in point is Heineken. Heineken have done some absolutely awful stuff, like as a company, but they don't have that public figure. They don't have that person who's being brash and loud and taking control, and they're the captain of the thing. They're a nameless, faceless corporation. Yeah. Oh, James Watt apparently got 500.
Whereas, like 90% of the breweries in the UK, you at least know one name of someone involved in that brewery.
Yeah.
But like Heineken, it's just like a faceless conglomerate sort of thing.
That's the first of a few I'll show, I'm sure.
Wait. You don't have to do a test anymore, don't you? Didn't Boris say? Don't need to do it.
Don't be putting logic into memes about documentary on an expose on early evening Scottish TV. What's the fun in that?
Do you think James flounced the restrictions?
Oh.
It's a business. It is a business trip. If he is going to America, he is technically going for work. He hasn't broken the law.
Yeah. Well, if you take your floozies on a brewery tour, then it's a work, isn't it?
If he took his family with him, then it would be a different issue. But it's a business trip, isn't it? So
Can't argue with that. And also, if it was during lockdown and he was on the roof and they were lost. At least he was outdoors as long as there were no more than 6 people.
We've got a leaky roof on our bar, so he probably wouldn't be able to do it.
Oh no!
But
it's because it's a converted shipping container. See, we've got a few more. Oh no, Greg! Cash raisins. Hey, that's what you're really tuned in for. And John says my old AM decided to take her mum along to the AGM. 3 hours later, she comes back. I've seen photographs from it, and he's like running through like lines of people like high fiving. It just looks. Oh, come on now.
Like Oprah.
Calm down. I mean, it just sounds a bit ridiculous. Let's get Bayliss to cheers. Everyone having a beer now? Yes, I'm just finishing the track Sonoma. I might have something else in a minute.
I'm on also on track with one of the best West Coasts that I've had in a long time.
I've just seen Sam's question there. I reckon I've tried about 200.
Wow.
But yeah, I would say, well, when I say 200, I'm including, say, like Brewdog USA, Brewdog Berlin, Overworks, Nano Dog, all the different. It'll be about 200, I would have said.
62.
I always think
I've tried something.
Be a bit more than that.
If I went on my Untapped, every year on Untapped, they've been the most checked in brewery, and up until last year, it was around 60, 70 a year, different unique beers that I was trying. But last year, I think it was about 20 it really the gap is closing now. I don't, and now that I've got the Pomona Island subscription at the moment, it won't be this year. Pomona Island will probably be my number one by the end of the year.
Yeah. I checked, I got 62. So
62.
Well, I'm going to go and grab a beer, but I'm going to leave you with this question. Okay, I'm sure we'll talk more about some of the stuff that comes up. Please chime in whenever you want about any of the stuff. If there are any talking points that I'll mention that we haven't covered yet, please do mention it. But I'm going to leave you while I go and get myself another beer. Obviously, we're more about as much about the beer. So I mean, obviously, our opinions will often be more about that because that's what we know more about than the kind of ins and outs of business and indiscretions of CEOs and stuff like that. So what I'm going to say is, Jake, fucking Craig's got how rude's that? Mid-sentence. Is Brewdog making beer as good as they used to do? Has it completely gone to shit?
No.
Is it just because we kind of like developed different opinions and fondnesses for other beers? Is it because there's much more beer out there? So you can talk about that while I go and formulate your thoughts, and I'm off to get back in a second.
If they are brewing good beer, I don't see it because they're not in like independent bottle shops and stuff like that. So if they are, I don't know about it.
There's a bit more of an exclusive sort of.
I would say the last 2 months of the year, I'm not saying they're back to where they were, but there's been an improvement on the stuff that goes in the bars. The stuff that goes in the supermarkets is crap. The stuff that they're putting in the supermarkets, it's not worth washing your dishes in half the time. But the stuff that came from Brewdog Berlin, so there's an IPA that came from Brewdog Berlin called Hop Tiger that came out just before Christmas. That's not bad. And the Hazy Hellers that came from Brewdog Berlin's not bad. The Practice What You Preach that they've done with La Trappe is decent. I had, when I was in the Manchester Hotel just before Christmas, they had one called Hoppy Brown, and it was an American brown ale, and that was decent. So they are doing some okay stuff, but the stuff that you see in the supermarkets, nah.
I don't think they're going to ever win back the heart of the beer geek because they're just not going to be sold in the places that you buy beer.
But if you looked at like what you would say, say everyone always goes, "Oh, Brewdog's really good at imperial stouts." That's where everyone seems to think that they specialise in. If you then said, right, name the top 5 breweries in the UK who do imperial stouts, you won't name Brewdog.
No,
Brewdog.
You know,
no.
Yeah, you won't name, even if top 10, you probably wouldn't name them. So they've got a lot. They've got to work. But I think,
but also,
they won't come back.
Yeah, exactly. And also, Brewdog are well out. They don't need to cater to that. They don't need to cater to the beer nerds obsessing over the beer because they just don't need to anymore. They're not that's not who they're making beer for. So I think that's sort of because it's the age old thing of like going into a Brewdog bar and going, I'll just get what guest stuff is on, and all that sort of old carry on.
Yeah,
they've got
stuff and see what they've got in the fridge.
They've got a big takeover this weekend. That should be good.
What was your question, Rob?
Really good.
I missed it. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, is the beer that Brewdog making these days any good? Are they gone downhill, or is it just our kind of warped opinion because we've got our opinions have changed and stuff? Are they still making good beer, or have things moved on? And essentially,
I think they have moved on. They've just got too damn big.
Yeah, I think this is a gateway brewery.
Yeah, if you don't know anything different, but I don't think the quality is quite on point where it used to be, say 10 years ago when I was just, But people can say, "Oh, your palate's changed." It's like, well,
no, but
don't
my
think
palate's
so.
at a point where I know when a beer is a good beer when it's
Yeah, exactly. Your palate's changing as much as you can probably identify when stuff's a bit ropey and all that sort of stuff. But like for me, and obviously it's just my opinion, but I still think Ghost Ship's a great beer, and I'll still buy Ghost Ship all the time.
Exactly. So exactly.
I enjoy Ghost Ship when I have it.
But I'd never buy Punk IPA or like a 4-pack of like of Dead Pony. And Dead Pony, I used to drink Dead Pony all the time. I used to love that bit.
Be one of my
I used to like Jack Hammer was one of my favourites as well. That was really good. And I used to love hardcore IPA. I know a lot of people didn't, but I did.
I used to love a pint of hardcore IPA in Brewdog. I was just
really like that.
There's definitely that gateway thing, though. I mean, the weekend gone, there was an offer in Sainsbury's where you had 4 different flavours of Lost Lager in an 8-pack for £4.50, and they had guava one, blood orange, and a lychee and lime flavoured lager, and the normal one. And my brother cleaned the shop out. He's right at the start of his beer journey, and his mate, but he's into his IPAs now. And he knows the hype, like the hype breweries and that. And his pals are even like further back on it than him. They got a boxes of that because it was £4.50, and they were saying it's the best thing they've ever had in their life.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then you've got nothing to kind of go on with that.
Yeah.
Though. You're a new palate. You know, you're a baby palate essentially, and it's just kind of like
that's like the weird thing. Like with all that's gone on today and all the stuff that's been coming out over the past few months. See, the fact that you can get that for like £4 in the supermarket.
Crazy.
It's normally £9 for the 8 cans, and last weekend it was £4.50 for 8 440s in Sainsbury's. And it was four different ones. So you had the normal lager
as well.
And there was the normal lager. There was blood orange, guava, and lychee and lime. You got 2 of each.
Yeah,
8 for £4.50.
Because they did a big discount on that Christmas box as well, didn't they, recently?
Yeah.
See, that's probably the only time I'd rarely ever buy Brewdog en masse, is if it was I needed a few beers for something and it was cheap.
Dogma's all right.
I know that money's not really. I know that money's not really supporting Brewdog compared to the money that I dish out to other companies.
But
it's one of the things.
The offers will be this week. If you go to Tesco this week, I'm here.
The offers will be this week.
Well, I'm here in
this down sale.
Well, there's the Cloudwaters will be on offer, so they'll be the starters. They'll be on the cheap. But I'm hearing there's new beer going into Tesco in the next week. So when that happens, they always sell off the beer. So there'll be offers in Tesco this week.
Yeah. What's that beer called? Character Assassination Double IPA.
The Palm of Violet is on sale at the minute. Not that you'd want to drink it, like.
No, it sounds horrible.
Yeah, even on sale, I wouldn't buy it.
See, for me, I mean, I was going to be up that way in Leeds on Saturday, and I looked on Untapped to what they had on, and there were no of any interest at all.
Yeah,
there was
just all Brewdog stuff, isn't it?
No, but I'm talking about their beers. I mean, they're just
but just none of the good stuff.
That's why I'm thinking: is there any good? Is there all good? Because I mean, I know whenever I'll check, so I'm like, oh, is there any decent guests on? I always look at the Brewdog set, and I'm like,
very rarely guest beers these days. I don't know what's going on. Weird.
It depends on your brand.
People don't want to have beers.
What happens?
Well, London. Yeah.
What happens with the bars now is they do these like tap takeovers, but they're nationwide. So like this weekend is a Lervig one. So every single Brewdog bar in the country this weekend will have Lervig beers on. So then if they don't shift, they'll stay in the bars for the month. So when you go around the different Brewdog bars, you'll be like, oh, so I've got the Lervig beers on. I've still got, there's some of the Christmas ones. There's the Collab Fest. So, because they've always got these different things on with the guest beers are coming generic across every single bar now. You don't see very much like the local beers in.
Yeah, at one point that's what it used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although we did have Lakes Brewco on the other month in ours, which was good.
Yeah, last time I went to one, obviously, there used to be 2 in Leeds. One of them shut down now. So
you got 2. You got the one in Headingley as well.
Oh, I've never been up there.
Yeah.
Going out to that effort to go to a Brewdog bar. I think they won at the top of towns. Fair enough. But yeah, last time I went in, I mean, I've been looking on their app, and they had an overtone beer on. Like at that point, I'd never had any draft overtone, so I went up and had it. Nothing was badged up to let me know this, but there were Collab Fest beers, so they were old as fuck, and I kind of, I mean, they were empty as well. It was so fucking empty as a place. Saturday afternoon, and I said, so these Collab Fest beers, and they were like, I said, well, they are, and these are over 6 months old. You know, it's not on. Like, it's not on. You're charging this much for beer that's this old. You know it's no good. Oh well, blah blah blah. I mean, the service was fucking shocking. But I mean, so I think they've just become. I mean, when I popped into one in Edinburgh passing because I needed a piss, and we went in and they had a Jet Black Art and a Burnt Mill beer. The Jet Black Art tasted so horribly synthetic. Like, and it just seemed, the whole place just seemed a bit fucking depressing, to be honest. Kind of feel, every time I go in one, it always seems like no one gives a toss. Staff don't, I mean, once upon a time, I'd always say, staff were really good, they were always keen, even though they seemed like a bit fucking, bit too keen.
I think it depends on the branch.
Yeah.
Like, I would say, I think they're quite keen in ours, but then I don't know if that's just because I'm pally with them all, but I was in the one in Headingley just to get the tick off to say I'd been in it about 3 months ago, and they were super hyped in there. Like, so I think it depends. Whereas I've been in some and they can't be asked.
Yeah, it definitely does probably depend on who's running it and all that sort of thing. But I've definitely seen a shift from when I first got into beer, and everyone used to be, because I used to go to quite a lot of the different ones in London. Like, used to go to the Norwich one. And then like a few other ones I've been to, and everyone was enthusiastic and could tell you about the beers, and you could have a chat with them. Whereas like I've been to some over the last couple of years, and it's just not the case. And then you hear the stuff about their work conditions and how they're being treated, and how they like could be fired on a moment's notice and all this sort of stuff. And then it sort of adds up a little bit. It's sort of
that
like,
was pretty fucking mental.
Yeah,
that lad had been. Not told why.
Well, I mean, he was working at HQ. He wasn't even in a bar when he was. Yeah. Yeah,
that was a bit. It's a bit crazy. It's like, well, they're not telling him why. Maybe somebody like that's easy to shoot holes in. Really, I mean, will he? Blah blah blah. That's why. I mean, due to certain kind of conduct or something like that, you never know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, there's one opening in Bradford soon, supposedly.
It's open now. It's open now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, tomorrow.
I think you got one in Huddersfield now.
Really, I didn't know about that either.
Yeah. You got Bradford, Huddersfield. I'm just thinking the Yorkshire, York, Sheffield.
Where's my invitation to opening?
You won't get one now,
James. See if he answers my email. He used to. I think I just go to his spam now. One point I stopped getting just getting like an automated reply. Went to the well too many times. But no, I didn't realise when in Bradford had opened.
Yeah, I think
in places like that. I mean, I don't know what other beer places there are in your area. You know, I mean, there's some decent cast places in Bradford, but I mean,
you got the what's it?
Not hell of a lot.
Record? What's it called? Record? Is it Record?
Yeah, Record Cafes. Yeah, Record Cafes.
That's good.
Really
That's good. Yeah,
it's really good. But I can see it doing okay because it's a supermarket brand. It's kind of recognisable. So I can kind of see working better in places like that than they're willing.
Yeah,
a lot more kind of metropolitan cities, really.
It was heaving at first, and it's steady. I don't think it's like it does really really well on the pizzas in our local one, but it's on a stretch called Botchergate, which is literally like Foster's Avenue, and it is like just Birra Moretti and Foster's everywhere, and shots, and it's when a pint of punk IPA being £5.25, for instance, it's next door to Spoons. and it's £3.19 next door, and every single person just turns around and goes, "Why the fuck would you go in there? Because you can just go next door and drink it for £3.19." And
I mean, it's a good good point though.
yeah, oh yeah, but that is literally. I mean, our other one craft beer bar, the Fat Gadgie, has been shut since October 20. It hasn't opened yet because of COVID, and then a couple of little like cafe bars have got occasionally get Daya on, or maybe a Verdant beer or a Cloudwater, but it's not. It's not on all the time. So like Brewdog is really the only place really to get regular craft beer in Carlisle. So and we haven't got a bottle shop, so it is barren where we are.
I guess that's it. I mean, yeah, when it first, one in Leeds, that first opened, I've been there all the time. And I met a bunch of friends, kind of like just like propping up the bar in there and stuff. People I still see now, and I mean, I did a fucking. I've done events there and stuff. I was in the fucking centre page. I was on a double spread of a week, a supplement with the Guardian about homebrew, which the group that we did in the Brewdog bar in Leeds. And there's two lads who was in that homebrew group who've gone on to be professional brewers. One of them set up his own. Other one was like the second employed member of Northern Monk, third maybe now. So yeah, there was kind of a lot kind of went on there, and it was it was kind of an important place, I'd say, for beer in general at a time. But it just kind of feels like it just seems everything seems like a fucking afterthought now. It's like there's nothing special about it anymore. It's not that
about it. Let's give it a go. It's going to be awful.
What is it, Craig? Sorry.
It's one of the. I think it's the best awful beer in Aldi. I think.
Lovely.
And is that an aged can of it as well?
Yeah, there's 3 months on it left. So
lovely.
So it's a shitty beer that's old.
So I mean, I don't even think it was that there weren't any places to go there, because I think there's been some decent places in Leeds to go. But for me, they just kind of feel like just a lot of the time it just doesn't seem like anybody gives a toss, really.
Yeah, I used to like the little one that's shut now.
That's exactly my favourite.
Yeah, I really like that one, and also the fact that the food was Reds as well, so you were getting good food. But yeah,
that closed. That sadly closed. But
they are looking to get another one.
They had terrible kind of like they had a load of problems with managers in there forever and ever and ever. Yeah, I think it's a real tricky situation. I mean, I'm sure they can. I know a few people who've been with them quite a long time, and I know that they've done very well, and they've moved up. But I'm sure they've put the work in as well. But it has been rewarded, and so I mean, I've personally seen kind of people being a success involved with Brewdog, but
Has Rob frozen, or
is he
pondering his next thought?
I thought it was me then.
No, I think it's definitely frozen. We'll never know. We'll never know what is.
Since I've had the Chromebook, it doesn't do that anymore. So
no, it's doing a Harry special.
Maybe he's been sniped.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's shut it down
through the window. It was those Russian bots. They dubbed him in.
It's just James going through the list of people he knows.
He'll be back in a minute.
Yeah. Or the stream will just end. Either way. No, he's just gone.
Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, I'll be back in a minute.
Yeah. So what were we even talking about?
Brewdog
or something or other.
Person.
There we go. You're back, but you got no sound.
Really?
Oh, you're very quiet. Very quiet.
Yeah, muffled.
Okay now.
Rob, you've just missed Jake's massive penis. So
Oh, again.
with
You're not
a
helping,
Brewdog tattoo on it.
you're not helping the situation we're having
I
with
came in fourth.
No, it sounds fine.
out of 5.
Hang on.
Without one
Well,
participant.
anyway, this kind of talk is not going to help anything on this subject. Come on now. Yeah, as Adam says, maybe if I could. Yeah, probably. He's been in multiple things. Massive is the one in Bradford. I was just looking at it. I know, but it's been multiple bars. Yeah, I'm not that excited by it. I'll go.
Or is it
No
a
doubt.
new one? New
Yeah.
one, is it?
Yeah. Beer lineup. What have they got on at Bradford at the moment? They've got Lost Lager, Spice Claws. That's a word.
That's the sour in it. Yeah.
Sad AF. Elvis Juice. Abstract 23, which seems to be on fucking everywhere. It's about
All right. So I'll
been knocking
try
around
that.
forever.
I might
Yeah,
try that.
I think we had that when that time when we filmed downstairs in the one in Shoreditch.
I don't know if it's that one or I can't
Yeah.
remember.
I should remember singing, singing along to the Small Faces in that bar.
Yeah, Kingpin.
Oh, did it be nice?
Yeah. The video's still up. Well, it's still up, that video.
Arcade City, which is the stout from everywhere. So
Yeah, sour stout. Yeah.
Any good?
It's all right.
As good as a sour stout could be, I suppose.
Punk AF. I
The
know
sour stout that Overworks done called Hocus Pocus was good.
Liberated Libertine. That's one for you, Jake. Dead Bunny Club, Hazy Jane, Planet Pale, Punk IPA.
Just be sure to don't look back in the sun when you were drinking.
I'll punch you up the bracket.
Yeah,
guests always
that
seem to be virtually the same everywhere.
It was such a waste.
No, just
pissed it up the wall.
Just didn't laugh.
There you go. So Bradford is open.
Yeah, I'll get it done at some point because I haven't been to it, so it'll happen. I'd imagine next couple of months.
Well, let me know when you're heading down, and I'll make the effort. I'll go for the first time as well.
I'll have to get me a little stamp.
Absolutely. I'll go in. I can be a bouncer, but don't touch him up. All right. I've heard about you. Right. One thing. I mean, this is a little bit kind of sexist, but I'll preface that. But James, what titting somebody up? What's all that about? Who does that? Who's just like hand up your top? Just seemed a very odd thing to do in public. And I said he never seemed drunk ever. It seems
he did say, I did read somewhere once that when he does a lot of his events, it is common. Everyone around him knows that he does have Punk AF in Punk IPA cans.
Ah.
But he said if I'm doing presentations, I can't drink all day because I'm going to be absolutely mashed by 2:00, which I could understand. But
yeah,
so it's kind of a show. It's a showy drink, isn't it? Because when you go to the AGM, he drinks about 10 beers on the stage in the cans. So
really?
You'd be thinking I'll be absolutely plastered by the time he gets off, and he's fresh as a daisy. So I can understand it, but it's a little bit poetic license.
So yeah. Is there any more comments, questions? If not, we can. I mean,
not really.
Well, not really. But no, I suggest people go and check it out. It was an eye opener. I didn't want to take something. Jake gets that one. We will. I did want to just share one thing. to incriminate myself slightly more. Just want to leave that. Leave that. I just want to leave that there.
Oh no.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, that is me.
Wouldn't that be funny if that photo was used in some of the Fallout? In some
Oh, that'd be great.
Is that Drew Millwood?
Who?
So-
No, that's Richard. That's Richard
is
who I
it?
did the beer with, and
Oh,
he then went on to, as a result, well, not maybe not.
Oh
as a
yeah,
result of that,
Richard. Yeah,
He
yeah.
went
Richard,
on to he went on to work for Brewdog.
yeah, Richard. That's what I was thinking. Yeah. It's dead.
So,
Is that dead metaphor thing?
You had that one, Greg.
Yes, I think so.
Oh, blimey.
Well, I had it when they brought it back on cask. Well, or
Yes,
what they
it's
call
terrible.
cask. What they call cask. Yeah, I had it. I had it then. I remember watching your review in the bar of that. Actually, I think you did review it in the bar, didn't you?
I did a re-review of the live beer one. It was massively disappointing. It was so disappointing.
I reviewed the bottle you gave me years ago.
I opened one quite recently and it wasn't tasting great. I thought it was tasting better than everybody else thought it was.
It was
Maybe
it was good a few years back, about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
it's tough stuff now. Yeah. But yes, cool. Anyway, thanks for everybody who's joined me this evening. And also thanks for everybody who's kind of like who's tuned in, because there has been quite a lot of people on. And thanks for your comments. Go and check it out. It's a surprising viewing. I think things are gonna.
Oh no!
That left us in suspense.
Yeah. Yeah. What was he gonna say? Oh dear. He'll be back
on that bombshell.
Yeah,
Should we-
Jason Watts hacked into his internet again.
Yeah. Should we just leave and then?
Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yeah.